Good morning, Honorable Chair. I rise to report that a court was exists for the Standing Committee on Public Enterprises to commence business.
Thank you. Good morning, members. It has been reported that a quorum does exist for the Standing Committee on Public Enterprise to commence business. Those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Those not in favor, please say no. The ayes have it. Thank you. Can someone move a motion for us to adopt the agenda? Anybody?
I move the agenda.
Any seconder?
Second.
It has been moved and seconded to adopt the agenda as it is. Those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Those not in favor, please say no. The ayes have it.
Yes.
Thank you so much. Mr. Chairman and the senior management of the GPA and Ferries, may I seize this opportunity to extend a warm morning greetings to each and every one of you. This also extended to the subject matter specialists, our senior man here, the external auditors, esteemed members of the PEC committee and our research personnel with the journalists and the media officers here in present. On the itinerary, we have an introduction of members. As you are already aware, this is a routine practice that we are used to, and we cannot shy away from that. So on that note, I will start with my humble self to start introducing myself. I'm Honorable Lamin Jesane, National Assembly Member for Brikama South, Chairman of the Standing Committee on Public Enterprise.
Thank you very much. Good morning to all of you. My name is Honorable Village Tukala, Member of Parliament representing Kampala constituency, the majority of the House, and the Vice Chair of the Committee.
And again?
And
again?
Deputy Speaker of the House Parliament.
Assalamu alaikum. Honorable Almami Jiba Fonyi, Councillor, Member of the Committee.
Good morning, I am Lamin Sise, Member for Kian Tiliji, and member of this committee as well.
Good morning, I'm Honorable Ibrahim Ajayte, member for Sandu constituency.
Good morning, Honorable Sirif Sad, member for Joshua.
Good morning, Media.
Good morning. My name is Ibrahim Ajao, of the committee.
Good morning. Alayo Martal, subject matter specialist for the PEC committee.
Use the mic. I don't think you can increase your power.
Good morning. I am Fatma Kesi Sao, researcher to the committee.
Thank you. Mr. Chairman, yes, sir. You may start introducing yourself and your team.
my name is Keba Tamsir Njai. I'm the new chairman of the board of directors of the Gambia Ports Authority.
Good morning, Mr. Chair. Good morning, Mr. Chair, and members of the PEC committee. I am Abdullah Tambedu, the general manager of the Gambia Ferry Services Company Limited.
Good morning. I am Ismail Awala, Director of Finance and Services.
Good morning. I am Bala Musa Dafe, Internal Audit, Gambia Ferry Services.
Good morning, Usman Jabati, Managing Director of Gambia Ports Authority.
Morning. I'm Tamsi Sala, Director of Finance, the Gambia Ports Authority.
Good morning. I am Jim M.N. Gom, Procurement Manager, Gambia Ports Authority.
Good morning. I am Maria Massa, Director of Human Resources at Active Ferry Services.
Good morning. My name is Rohingya Dean. I am the Director of Commercial Service, Gambia Ferry Service.
It's off. Yes.
Okay. Good morning, I sit to DT Associates.
What? Huh? Name?
I sit to DT Associates.
Okay.
Good morning, Ajipenda Sankare, DT Associates, External Auditors for GPA.
Good morning, I am Yasir Karim, External Auditor, DT Associates.
Good morning, Augustus Prom Jr., External Auditors, Augustus Prom, Auditors of Ferries.
Mr. Chairman.
Yes, sir.
Thank you for the wonderful introduction. Next on the agenda is the administration of affirmation. So the clerk will be coming around to administer this oath to people that are going to take part in the presentation, only for presentation today. So the clerk will come, you can identify who is going to present.
Then let's stand and do it together. Get it with external auditors. Yes, exactly. Can you mention your names? You just repeat after me. Can you mention your names? Sorry, madam. Madam. Yeah, let's do it together. So you just repeat after me and you mention your names. You repeat after me and you mention your names. I. Do hereby affirm that. I will speak the truth. The whole truth. Nothing but the truth. So help me Allah.
Mr. Chairman.
Yes, sir.
I want to sincerely thank you and your senior management for appearing before PEC committee on your annual routine engagement with the National Assembly Standing Committee. It is indeed a great pleasure to invite a sizable team from both GPA and Ferries. And we hope and pray this relationship will continue because it's important for us to work as a team and improve upon the status quo. But as a committee, we have observed one thing. Last time, the GPA and Ferries appear without the reports of Ferries, which we sat and have a discussion around it and gave them a date for submission. But we are only receiving these reports today for Ferries. And if you look at the activity report, look at the manner in which it is presented. Mr. Chairman, yes, sir. This is the activity report of Ferries, and this is totally unacceptable. And we want to at least do the presentation today, but for the consideration, you will go and prepare a better one. That will come during the consideration. It's important when we are sending reports to the National Assembly, let us bring in a standardized one, not a leaflet like this. In fact, it has Ferries and GPA, we should have considered their report by now. But because of delayed reporting, time has been delayed and we are very much worried. So next time, we know by law, after every physical year, the first quarter, you need to report to us. So all the reports need to be readily available and sent to your auditors to do it so that you can meet this time. Because we are still dealing with 2021, which is very unfortunate. We want to be at par at the corresponding year so that we can treat things accordingly. But if you look at it, we are dealing here with information that we are 2-3 years back. So it's always a big problem. And that is why we are trying to fast track to cover all the bad luck so that we can have an year that is going to correspond with that particular report. So you can double up, and I know you have been struggling, but the type of reporting need to be very clear anytime you are coming up, and this type of report will not accept it. And that's why we are directly sending this information to you as the chair of the board. So you can see it for yourself. Okay, now going forward, we will start the presentation. We want to start with GPA. We have the activity, the financial statement, and the management data. So if there is a summary version of the activity report, that will be good, but if not, you can take us through the activity report, but you try to summarize it in as much as you can. But we are already in receipt of this report. We are going to look at it individually, to go through it and see whatever areas are we going to mark as a talking point, so that we can have an engagement with you. So from there we go to the financial statement, where the finance director can take us through. From there we come to the management letter. The auditors will take us through issues of the findings that are rated very high, adverse audit findings that are rated 1. We only want you to mention that one. But when you come to the consideration, we'll go in detail to ask questions relating to those findings. So, Mr. Chairman, the ball is in your court now. We can start with the GPA.
Good morning, Honorable Chairman and your colleagues in the committee. Let me first of all express my regrets for the late submission of the reports from the Gambia Ferry Services. I recall that when we first appeared here, you gave us the opportunity to come back in full to give you, precisely what is to be tabled and discussed today. However, as you have mentioned, we have difficulties and face challenging times. Nonetheless, we own up to the failure of lack of rapid responsiveness. We've taken note of this thing, and moving forward, I think we will improve on our submission to you for the future. Now, for the case of GPA, to which I am about to present the statement of the chairman for the year 2021. That was the time of my predecessor, Sir, reading and presenting the statement as prepared for the period. Can I proceed?
Yes.
The Gambia Ports Authority has realized actually the statement is broken down into 5 headings. And I will just, look at some of them, give you a summary, and then, read through the others that give you a better highlight of what we have for you. Now, the Gambia Ports Authority has realized another success in its financial performance for the year ended 31st December 2020, achieving an annual, 2021, achieving an annual revenue of... Yes, sir?
Please, can you refer us to the page number?
I'm sorry. Okay.
As you are, yes.
Page 36.
36, thank you.
This represents an increase of 6% when compared to the corresponding financial period of 2020, which was 1.8 billion. Total traffic throughput handled at the port of Banjul decreased from 2.8 billion tons. Compared to 2020, it was 2.5 billion, representing a decrease of representing a decrease of 9%. However, containerization has decreased by 12% during the period under review of the 1.3 million metric tons when compared to 2020, 1.476 metric tons. Decrease in the overall throughput in 2020 when compared to 2021 when compared to 2020 is mainly caused by the decreased importation of bulk cargo commodities such as rice, sugar, and flour. These throughput figures also exclude liquid bulk, that is petroleum products, of 248,982 tons. That was handled by Gambia Petroleum Limited at its storage facilities at Mantinari during the year under review. Improvement is required on the operational aspect of the Port of Banjul. Ships' waiting time is still high, and productivity in terms of container moves per hour needs significant improvement. Port labor reforms, investment in equipment, closer supervision, additional land space, specialized training in port operations are some of the short-term challenges the board will endeavor to address in order to improve the operational efficiency of the port. The master plan for port expansion. I will just give you a breakdown of areas, which are 8 in number. That is digitalization, computerization, and optimization of the port operations, rearrangement and expansion of the container yard areas, extension of the main jetty, institutional reforms and human resource development, development of an inland container depot in Basse to enhance regional distribution, procurement of additional cargo handling equipment, relocation of GPA head office, creation of an off-dock container depot. The other headings include the introduction of the performance contract, taking into account the competitive nature of the port industry. The capacity to maintain sustainable operations relies on the application of performance inducement mechanism. The Board of Directors, in realizing this strategic need, shall collaborate with government, the Ministry of Transportation, Works and Infrastructure, and the Ministry of Finance to reintroduce the performance contract scheme that was in existence in the early 1980s. Mr. Chairman, the GP has already signed its performance contract with the government last year. Human resource reforms. The Board of Directors in 2020 have started to implement the recommendations of the report of the human resource audit conducted for the sustainable operation of the Port of Banjul in the medium to long term. This study is conceived against the backdrop that the port and the shipping industry continues to experience dynamic changes with the advent of containerization and the increasing use of information and communication technology in ship operations and handling technology. This will ensure that the current HR practices will address the realities and new challenges, hence the need for this new strategic approach. The revitalization of river transport. I'm sure you are all aware of the, the need to revitalize the transport, river transport, because we all know and have witnessed the role that this sector had played in the economy, many, many years ago. So, in line with the national transport policy, the board will strategize with management to engage potential partners with a view to revitalizing river transportation. The strategy is aimed at rehabilitation of the river ports of Kaur, Puntaur, and Basse for inland distribution and establishment of ICDs and logistic platforms to enhance the country's potential to serve sub-regional markets and food centers. Mr. Chairman, this current board has taken it upon itself to do a conducted tour of these facilities in the provincial areas, and have looked at possible ways in which to improve future services. Now, the payments to government. During the financial year 2021, I'm sorry. I keep saying 2020. The port accrued or paid more than 253 million to the government of the Gambia in the form of loan repayments for the African Development Bank third port project loan of 27 million, of which the balance as at 31st December 2021 is 226.5 million. Corporation and income tax 130 million, and proposed of dividends of 170 million. In conclusion, Mr. Chairman, during the year under review, the Port of Banjul registered increased revenue despite decrease in throughput and the current challenges in terms of the infrastructure and capacity improvement needs. These developments will be complemented with infrastructure improvement projects that may be identified in the new port master plan to enhance the competitive advantages of the Port of Banjul in the face of fierce competition within the sub-region. The improvement of the Port of Banjul is the key concern of the government of the Gambia. Hence, the emphasis of development of the port is on one of the key milestones highlighted in the National Development Plan. The potential to develop the port's infrastructure is very high, given the significant increase in the traffic combined with the fact that financing requirements seems to be readily available from several sources. However, it is imperative that the government takes the right decision, bearing in mind the strategic importance of the port of Banjul. And finally, Mr. Chairman, on behalf of the Board of Directors, I wish to thank the management and staff of the Gambia Ports Authority for an improvement in financial performance and for meeting the authority's financial obligations, especially to the government of the Gambia and the International Financial Committee, and by extension to you for inviting us here and listening to the presentation of this. Thank you very much.
We welcome Mr. Chairman. We really appreciate. Can we move to the next visit?
Thank you, Honorable Chair and Honorable Committee members, subject matter specialists, external auditors, the Chairman of the GPA Board, and colleagues of the ports and the ferry. I wish to present the Managing Director's report for the year ended 31st December 2021. And crave your indulgence that I just do a summary, since the Chairman has highlighted the main issues. The Port of Banjul serves as an entry point for almost 80% of the country's international trade. And it's also responding to the needs for socio-economic development as a main catalyst in operation. In order to achieve some of these development objectives, we will endeavor to implement the recommendations of the master plan that was commissioned in 2019, and it spans a 20-year horizon and a 5-year strategic business plan to turn around the business of the Port of Banjul. Some of the issues that are affecting the port, as highlighted by the Chairman, is mainly to do with capacity constraint, particularly in this year under review. You will see through the report that the authority has been spending from its own recurrent budget to procure equipment that is needed for cargo handling. These range from the calmer, the trailers and the spreaders, for which all the values have been indicated in the report. And this is in our drive to ensure that service delivery improves at the Port of Banjul. But despite the modest performance we continue to have felt the effects in the global supply chain, particularly shocks like the increasing the fuel price in 2021 and the competition within the sub-region. However, the financial performance of the authority in that year has been acceptable. The authority realized an increase in revenue by 5% from 1.87 billion in 2020 to 1.9 billion in 2021. However, the throughput also decreased by about 9%, and this was as a result mainly of the congestion, because most of the cargo that should have been handled could not be handled because of the backlog. When we have congestion, it slows down productivity and throughput. Imports, which contribute about 9% of the total throughput, was dominated by the traditional commodities like the containerized cargo, bulk cement, and rice. The number of vessels also decreased by 1%, as I explained earlier, because of the congestion. Ships were staying unnecessarily longer at the anchoring. So the potential for the port to handle the throughput that was forecast could not be realized because of the delay in the operation. But despite the global economic shocks and the challenges that are normally beyond the authorities' control, the port will strive to improve on its overall performance, especially cargo handling. Ships turnaround time, which is the main determinant of port performance, we'll try to improve on that. On human resources, it's by and large the most valuable asset that we have. It continues to occupy prominence in the efforts of the management to ensure that we realize our corporate objective. Taking you through some of the updates that we have on our project. In this 2021, new fenders were installed at the port because this was the first time in the history of the port that we had to replace the whole fenders, and these are to ensure that the ships have the right type of accommodation. And the value of that investment was about $75 million, and it was done through international tender. And the project was successfully handed over in 2022. And because of the capacity constraints, we were obliged to acquire property within the contiguous zone of the port, mostly residential property, and some were institutions. Like I would cite the example of the former GTTI Vocational Training Center annex in Banjul, which is called Technical School. This was acquired at a fee of about $24 million. And the project was successfully executed, and the school has relocated to premises along Old Joshua, and the structures have been demolished in anticipation of new structures for port expansion. Muslim High School also falls in the same category. It was done through willing seller, willing buyer arrangements, and the total value of the acquisition of Muslim was about $72 million. Which was also successfully acquired, unless some few payments are remaining to be done so that the land can be, the title can be handed over to the port, all in our efforts to create more space. With regards to the Hafdai acquisition, as of December, the authority has settled almost all of the property owners in Hafdai. This is the area that is the second phase of what government had in 1993, earmarked as the expansion of the immediate port. And if people are familiar with the environment in Banjul, it's the area bordering Cotton Street, Egan, and then west and south to the port again. First phase was acquired in 2016, and this was the second phase. About 22 properties were involved. So the total value was about $160 million. One of the challenges we had is part of the compensation package included to accord the beneficiaries of these properties in Hafdai an alternative plot in Bakau Kachikali area. And this was part of the negotiated settlement. Because the thing in Banjul is that people own land in perpetuity, meaning that what the land and the structures they get compensated for. So part of the relocation package was to accord them an alternative plot in Kachikali, so that if the families are desirous of constructing a residential property to maintain the heritage, they will have that opportunity. But the acquisition in the land in Bakau was delayed because the residents in Bakau, particularly VDC, had to engage the GPA for compensation also, because in as much as it is state land, the use was for agricultural purpose. We had to engage them into negotiation to cede the land, because this was the second phase already, as I mentioned. During the first phase, the residents in Hafdai were also relocated to the Kachikali farmland. So the second phase, the VDC clamored for additional compensation. So looking at the Land Acquisition and Compensation Act, what it called for in terms of compensation, per yield, per hectare, per annum over 14 years for seasonal farming would affect about $2.2 million thereabout. But during our engagement with the community to ensure that they are adequately compensated, all the variables in the compensation were increased. For example, the number of years compensation was doubled from 14 years to 30 years. And then the yield per hectare for the farmland, which is mostly, I think, rice, paddy rice, it was seasonal. We make it year-round. And then the value per ton was increased to $20,000. So with all that package, it came out to $10 million for the people that were occupying the farmlands, and they were happily compensated. In addition to that, $3 million was accorded to the Bakau VDC for investment in any project that would be beneficial to the residents of Bakau. So we're happy to report that it was amicably settled and the land is ceded. The only thing remaining for the beneficiary in Hafdai to get access to the land was the physical planning needed to demarcate and allocate the plots. Now, that was a little bit problematic because there were encroachments on some of the properties. As we speak, 90% of them are without issue. So the advice from the board is that those that are already encumbered, we leave them aside. But those that have no issues, we issue the letters of allocation so that the demolition can start in Hafdai. Why we cannot demolish the properties in Hafdai also? Because the transaction is not closed yet. Since we cannot give them the additional plot of land, although the money was paid, it will not be ethical to start demolishing people's property. So right now the problem we have there is squatters are in the property, but the compensation has been fully settled. Maintenance of the authorities' infrastructure is an ongoing exercise. In our recurrent budget, we make sure that there are adequate funds to take care of the infrastructure. And one of the issues also, there was a major capital investment, was the procurement of a new electronic weighing system, which cost the authority about $7.5 million. The next page is in the report, 43 to 44. With your permission, maybe I'll allow the committee to kindly indulge you in your time to go over the figures. But generally, what was mentioned is there was a drop in throughput of about 9% because of the congestion, as I explained earlier. So, but most of the variables and the throughput figures are already all explained in the report. And
I think the report was very precise. Unless if you want to action.
Yes, maybe just to conclude that in as much as our financial performance continues to be acceptable, the main problem in the port is capacity constraint. Because you would realize that the 2021, not that we did not have enough cargo, but vessels were staying unnecessarily long at the anchoring. We had waiting times in excess of 2 weeks. So all that backlog, if you have to handle it the following year, that's what it had meant that the throughput had dropped. But if the productivity had improved in 2021, we would have had more than what was targeted. But in subsequent years, we started to see that. Because now that we have access to areas away from the port to handle mostly empty containers and returning full containers, the throughput figure has started to register an increase. And the trend of cargo diversion to Dakar, to neighboring port, is now being reversed. And the figures we have currently shows that the growth factors, they are strong and real, which just goes to show that the magic one for port operations is space and equipment. And happily, there are some new investors that are interested on a partnership that will be a win-win for both the country and the investor, in the sense that the port is a strategic asset for the country. So to ensure that whatever form of transaction process we go through, the interest of the country will be paramount in securing that we participate both in the decision making and in the operations, and also to secure the interests of the workers. I thank you for your attention.
Thank you, Andy. Mr. Chairman?
Yes, sir.
Can we move to the financial statement?
Mr. Chairman, I'll take the opportunity to invite our Director of Finance, Mr. Kamsil Sala, to do the presentation of this part.
Good morning, Chair, members of the PEC committee, Chairman, Managing Director, auditors, DT associates, various colleagues. May I take this opportunity to present the financial statements of the Gambia Ports Authority for the year ended 31st December 2021. Comparing the 2021 results against the 2020.
Mr. Finance Director?
Page 11. Page 11. Page 11.
Page 11.
Page 11.
If you can draw the mic closer to me so that the people around this can hear.
Financial statements of profit or loss for the year ended 31st December 2021 in thousands of Gambian dollars. Revenue for 2021, that was December 2021, was 1,971,649,000.
Wait, we are not hearing. Can you draw the mic closer to you?
The revenue for 31st December 2021 was 1,971,649,000 compared to the revenue for 31st December 2020 of 1,871,274,000. Cost of sales was 277,779,000 for 2021 compared to 271,391,000 for 2020. The gross profits for 2021 was 1,693,870,000 compared to the gross profit for the year 31st December 2020 of 1,599,883,000. Admin and staff expenses was 859,204,000 for the year ended 31st December 2021 compared to 591,212,000. Depreciation charge was 100.
Is it a negative one?
Yes, the figures are in brackets, negative.
Yes, we want you to mention something.
Admin and staff expenses was 859,204,000 negative against compared to 31st December 2021 of 591,312,000 negative. Depreciation charge for 2021 was 153,290,000 negative compared to 154,931,000 negative for the year ended 31st December 2020. Other operating income was 10,642,000 compared to 31st December of 36,701,000. Net operating expenses total to 1,001,852,000 for 2021 compared to 709,503,000 negative 2020. Operating profits for the year 31st December for the year ended 31st December 2021 was 692,018,000 compared to the operating profit for the year ended 31st December 2020 of 790,331,000. Interest receivable and similar income for the year ended 31st December 2021 was 29,473,000 compared to the interest receivable and similar income for the year ended 31st December 2020 of 33,003,000. Interest payable and similar charges for the year ended 31st December 2021 was 9,971,000 negative compared to the interest payable and similar charges for the year ended 31st December 2020 of 22,492,000 negative. Foreign currency translation for the year ended 31st December 2021 was 23,351,000 negative compared to 53,412,000 positive for 31st December 2020. Impairment for the year ended 31st December 2021 was 142,101,000 negative compared to the 31st December 2020 of 202,668,000 negative. Waivers and rebates loan was granted in 2021, whereas in 2020, 104,456,000 negative was granted. Profit before tax for the year ended 31st December 2021 was 546,068,000 compared to the profit before tax for the year ended 31st December 2020 of 617,128,000. The tax charge for the year ended 31st December 2021 was 199,411,000 compared to the tax charge for the year ended 31st December 2020 of 236,544,000 negative. The net profit for the year to 31st December 2021 was 346,657,000 compared to the net profit for the year ended 31st December 2020 of 380,584,000. We may go to page 10 for the statement of financial position, otherwise known as the balance sheet of the Gambia Port Authority for the year ended 31st December, as of 31st December 2021. Assets, non-current assets, property, plant and equipment. For the year ended 31st December, as of 31st December 2021 was 1,919,243,000 compared to the property, plant and equipment as of 31st December 2020 of 1,934,815,000. Investments as of 31st December 2021 was 234,743,000 compared to the investment as of 31st December 2020 of 184,843,000. The total non-current assets was 2,153,986,000 as of 31st December 2021 compared to the total non-current assets of 2,119,658,000 as of 31st December 2020. Current assets, inventory for the year ended 31st December 2021 was 58,360,000 compared to 84,771,000 as of 31st December 2020. Trade and other receivables for the year ended 31st December 2021 was 963,864,000 compared to the trade and other receivables as of 31st December 2020 of 683,476,000. Cash and cash equivalent as of 31st December 2021 was 1,594,817,000 compared to the cash and cash equivalents as of 31st December 2020 of 1,665,404,000. Total current assets as of 31st December 2021 was 2,617,041,000 compared to the total current assets as of 31st December 2020 of $2,433,650,000. The total assets of the authority as of 31st December 2021 was $4,771,027,000 compared to the total assets as of 31st December 2020 of $4,553,308,000. Equity and liabilities. Share capital as of 31st December 2021 was 16,342,000, same as the one for the year ended 31st December 2020 of 16,342,000. Revaluation reserves remained the same for 2020 and 2021 at 1,437,296,000. General reserves for the year as of 31st December 2021 was 2,115,115,000 compared to the general reserve as of 31st December 2020 of 1,938,459,000. Retained earnings are maintained at 100 million for 2021 and 2022 respectively. Total equity as of 31st December 2021 was 3,668,753,000 compared to 3,492,097,000 as of 31st December 2020. Non-current liabilities borrowing due after 1 year as of 31st December 2021 was 204,553,000 for 2021 compared to 337,868,000 as of 31st December 2020. Current liabilities borrowing between 1 year as of 31st December 2021 was $132,141,000 compared to $184,046,000 as of 31st December 2020. Trade and other payables as of 31st December 2021 was $494,535,000 compared to the trade and other payables of $336,782,000 as of 31st December 2020. Taxation. The taxation balance as of 31st December 2021 was $271,075,000 compared to $202,515,000 as of 31st December 2020. Total current liabilities was $897,751,000 as of 31st December 2021 compared to $723,343,000 as of 31st December 2020. Total equity and liabilities was $4,771,027,000 as of 31st December 2021 compared to $4,553,000, $4,553,308,000 as of 31st December 2020. The financial statements were approved by the Board of Directors on 7 June 2022 and were signed on its behalf by the Chairman, Mr. Babu Kasar, and Managing Director, Mr. Usman Jabat. Page 12 is the statement of changes in equity. In summary, total share capital as at 31st December 2020 was 16,342,000. General reserve 1,938,409,000. Revaluation reserve 1,437,296,000. Retained earnings $100 million. Total reserves as of 31st December 2020 of $3,492,097,000. The total share capital as of 31st December 2021 was 16,342,000. The general reserves as of 31st December 2021 was 2,115,115,000 as of 31st December 2021. The revaluation reserve for 2020 as of 31st December 2021 was 1,437,296,000. Retained earnings as of 31st December 2021 was 100 million. The total share capital and reserves of the authority was 3,668,753,000 as of 31st December 2021. We go to page 13 for the statement of cash flows. For the statement of cash flows, looking at the bottom line, for the cash and cash equivalent at the beginning of the year 2020 was 1,330,315,000. That's at the beginning of the year 2020. As at the end of 31st December 2020, the closing cash balance was 1,665,404,000. Coming to that's the opening cash and cash equivalent at the beginning of the year 2021 of 1,665,404,000. The cash and cash equivalent at the end of the year 2021 was $1,594,817,000. Chairman, I beg to end my presentations here. Thank you very much.
Thank you, the Finance Director. Can we now go to the auditors? Let's start with the video. You can take us to the 10. From there we go to the management letter and you highlight the others.
Mr. Chairman, Honorable Chairman, if I may just, with your permission, yes. I just wanted to ask of a favor on behalf of our auditors here, who have another conflicting assignment right after they present their, report, so that if you can permit them to take leave of us, that is okay.
Okay. The next one is Ferry. You have a different auditor?
Yes.
Okay, that's okay.
Hello, can you hear me? You can hear me? Okay, all right. Thank you. Good morning, Chairperson of this committee, honorable members, board and management of GPA, subject matter specialists, and everyone here present. May I please refer you to page 7 of the financial statements for Gambia Ports Authority for the audit opinion.
You can blow the mic closer.
It's not on even. I think the battery is weak. Is it? It's not on. Okay. All right, page 7. That's where the independent auditor's report is. To the members of the Gambia Ports Authority, GPA, adverse opinion. We have audited the financial statements of the Gambia Ports Authority, GPA, set out on pages 11 to 34, which comprise the Statement of Financial Position as at 31st December 2021, the Statement of Profit or Loss, the Statement of Changes in Equity, and the Statement of Cash Flows for the year then ended, and notes to the financial statements, including a summary of significant accounting policies. In our opinion, because of the significance of the matter discussed in the basis for adverse opinion section of our report, the accompanying financial statements do not give a true and fair view of the financial position of the authority as at 31st December 2021 and of its financial performance and its cash flows for the year then ended in accordance with generally accepted accounting principles and in the manner required by the Ports Act 1972 and the Companies Act 2013. Basis for adverse opinion: non-consolidation of the Gambia Ferry Services Company Limited and the Banjul Shipyard Limited. Included in Note 12 of these financial statements is equity investment in Gambia Ferry Services and Banjul Shipyard Company amounting to $40 million and $9.9 million respectively. These investments represent 80% and 99% stake in Gambia Ferry Services and Banjul Shipyard Company respectively. In respect of generally accepted accounting principles, the Gambia Ports Authority has the practical control over these entities and should therefore consolidate the financial statements of both companies. However, the Gambia Ports Authority failed to consolidate the financial statements of the investments in Gambia Ferry Service Company Limited and Banjul Shipyard Company Limited as at 31st December 2021. Had the financial statements of Gambia Ports Authority been consolidated, many elements in the accompanying financial statements would have been materially affected, and therefore the departure from the requirements of GAAP principles, i.e. the FRS 102 Section 9, are considered to be pervasive. The effects on the consolidated financial statement of this departure have not been determined. The financial statement, the audit report rather, is signed on page 9, DT Associates, Chartered Accountants, Registered Auditors. By partner for this engagement was Ajipenda Sankari, dated 7th of June 2023. So that's the financial, the audit opinion. May I please refer you to the management letter, please? And like the chair said, we'll just pay attention to those that are rated high risk or significance. The first point is on page 4 of the management letter. Section 2, control issues. May I proceed? 2.1, governance, non-functional board audit committee. That's the observation. Audit committee, for the size of the authority, has a very important role to play in its governance structure and board oversight. Its primary purpose should be to provide oversight of the financial reporting process, the audit process, the company's system of internal controls, and compliance with laws and regulations. During our review of the governance structure and board oversight, we noted with concern that there were no audit committee meetings held for the year under review. Consequently, we did not cite evidence of approval of the internal audit work plan by the audit committee. The implication, the absence of such meetings implied that internal audit reports to management, which is not in line with best practices. Second, the internal audit reports may not be given due consideration due to conflict of interest, as issues raised might include matters relating to management's inefficiencies, non-compliance with relevant controls, or inaction. The independence and effectiveness of internal audit department may be compromised if audit committee is not active or does not approve the audit work plan. Recommendation, the committee should meet at least once a quarter to deliberate on issues as and when they arise, and also review to confirm that work set out on the approved work plan is achieved. This would effectively support the work of the internal audit department. The presence of an active audit committee facilitates the board's oversight function. Significance high.
Management response.
Thank you very much. Management response. This observation is noted. Going forward, the Board of Directors will employ the Audit Committee to carry out its critical oversight function by holding regular meetings to ensure that the internal control systems of the authority are as effective as possible.
The next point is on page 5, 2.2, lapses in cashier's office. 2.2.1 CCTV camera. We noted that there was no CCTV camera in the cashier's office, which received significant amounts of cash and check payments from customers, including staff loan repayments. 2.2.2 huge cash receipts and payments. The cashier office disposes physical cash payments to third-party contractors and dock workers. In addition, the unit receives cash loan repayments from staff. We are concerned that there is no official upper limit on cash receipts and payments by the cashier. There's a typo there, it's missed. It should be by payments by the cashier. Then 2.2.3 Chief Cashier's Office. From our review of cash payment vouchers, we noted a single cash payment of $185,000 is made to a contractor. Then 2.2.4, no petty cash system. During our review, we also noted that the authority did not operate a petty cash interest system for minor transactions. Furthermore, we noted that cash proceeds were not banked intact but used to make petty cash purchases and payments. 2.2.5, no insurance covers. We also noted that the authority holds no insurance cover over cash at the date of inquiry, which was the 15th of September 2022. Furthermore, the general insurance covers have elapsed and were not renewed for the year under review. Implication: lack of a recording CCTV camera in the cashier's office increases the risk of pilfering and limits evidence tracing in the case of burglary or fraud. Huge cash receipts and payments increases the risk of fraud, which could lead to financial losses for the authority. The absence of a petty cash process and controls increases the risk of misappropriation of cash during petty cash purchases. Without the relevant and appropriate insurance cover, the authority is exposed to the risk of financial losses in case of theft or natural disaster, etc. Recommendation: considering the significant amounts of cash held by the cash office, management should install recording CCTV cameras in the cashier's office as deterrent to fraud and potential evidence in the event that theft occurs in the cashier's office. Management should reduce the amount of cash held by the cashier's office by making use of the banking system and other electronic and mobile money services. Customers should be encouraged to pay through the bank. Staff that intends to pay off their loans upfront should deposit the said amounts into the authority's bank and provide the deposit slip as evidence of payment for receipting and reconciliations. Cash receipts should be banked intact within 24 hours in line with the authority's cash management policies and not used for any other purposes. There should be a petty cash interest system with set floats for minor transactions. Limits should be set above which checks or bank transfers should be used as means of payment. Management should ensure that all insurance covers are renewed, especially for cash held. Significance high.
Response.
Management response. Management will look at the provision of CCTV systems in the cash office and other strategic locations within the ports that are outside of the CCTV coverage. However, as bulk cash is no longer being collected by GPE for the payment of dock workers' wages following the establishment of the Dock Labor Company Gambia Limited, DLCG, its urgency is now lesser. Cash payments to third-party contractors are mostly done by check or bank transfer. The cash payment in question was a one-off, and this amount was later paid back to cash and check issued to the payee. Payments to staff, such as per diem allowances and staff loan, building and vehicle loans, are all paid by check, while the other staff loans, such as special, miscellaneous, personal, and welfare loans, are paid by cash. Observations and recommendations are noted and will be implemented on an ongoing basis as work in progress. Staff loans, especially miscellaneous loans, are now paid to the bank accounts of the beneficiary staff. Staff loan repayments are normally through payroll recoveries, and staff paying over the counter is not frequent and involves smaller amounts, if any. However, observations noted to encourage staff to settle at the banks. The GPA has a petty cash system for sub-departments such as procurement, estates, and civil engineering and mechanical workshops to ensure the operational needs of the authority are always catered for. These departments spend the petty cash on certain allowable expenditure, and when the petty cash flow nears exhaustion, it will be replenished after internal audit reviews and clears the previous expenditures. Using cash proceeds to make petty payments is not in practice in GPA.
Okay, there's our first reaction to management response. We say the absence of petty cash system and payment of this from this office was corroborated with the chief cashier and a senior finance manager. Evidence of petty cash vouchers from the department stated above were not provided for our review. And the next point is on page 7, 2.3, show handling, cash management, non-compliance with contract terms. Gambia Ports Authority contracted Guarantee Trust Bank for cash collection deposits of show handling proceeds. In this regard, GT Bank was allocated an office to station their cashiers at the authority's premises for the above-mentioned services. The Service Legal Agreement, SLA, was signed on 2nd of February 2021 and renewable every year. From our review of the SLA, we noted the following breach of contract by the authority. According to the SLA between GPA and GTB Article 2, Section 2.2 on the GPA responsibilities, the authority is required to install and make use of functional CCTV as a provision in the contract. However, from our verification, we noted that there was no CCTV for the tellers on site. Section 2.8 of the agreement also requires GPA to maintain an insurance cover for the place of business as a provision for their contract. However, there is no active insurance cover undertaken by GPA under the agreement for 2021. Implication: lack of functional CCTV cameras and insurance cover of the business results in non-compliance to the SLA agreement with GT Bank. In cases of in case of theft, fraud, or fire outbreaks, etc., there would be huge legal ramifications to the authority due to breach of agreement. Management may not recover any losses from the bank due to negligence in meeting the contractual obligations. Crystallization of the above-mentioned risk may result in financial loss to the authority. Recommendation: management should ensure that the authority adhere to the responsibilities as stipulated in the SLA to avoid potential legal and financial losses. Significance high.
Management response. Management response. As per the service level agreement SLA with GT Bank, the provision of insurance cover is taken care of by the authorities' fire and allied perils insurance cover. The procurement process of the CCTV is ongoing, waiting GPP approval.
Well, the auditor's reaction to management response is the SLA contract does not have a provision highlighting insurance being covered by the authorities' fire and allied perils insurance cover. In addition, as reported in point 2.5 of this report, general insurance covers were not reviewed for the period under review. Next point, page 8, staff loans. During our review of staff miscellaneous loans, we observed that the authority was charging 2% interest on the said loans. However, the loan policy states 5% interest should be charged. We were not provided with evidence of the changes in the policy approved by the Board of Directors. We also noted that a loan was given to a staff which was above the limit stipulated in the loan policy as detailed below. There is an emergency loan. The maximum limit should have been 50,000, but the relevant staff was given 178,936. We understand that the relevant staff is on secondment and his loan is not performing. We have not cited any arrangement of repayment over this secondment period, and no provision or follow-ups have been made towards this balance. Implication: undercharging interest rates on loans is a violation of the policies and results in financial loss to the authority. Exceeding loan limits set for staff defeats the purpose of setting up loan limits and results in financial losses. The loans may not be recovered. Recommendation: management should ensure that the loan policy is adhered to, and efforts should be made to recover loans owned by all seconded staff. Significance high.
Management response. The interest rate charge on miscellaneous loans was reduced from 5% to 2% following a review of the GPA loans policy that was adopted by the management in 2020. This review affected other loan interest rates as well as set new guidelines for eligibility for staff to access such loans. To address this issue of the cited staff, a staff member currently on secondment at GMA and has ceased servicing an emergency loan in GPA since February 2020. HR and admin department is currently in contact with the individual. exploring options to ensure a reasonable and feasible payment plan is arranged. Regarding the fact that the cited staff received an emergency loan above the limit stipulated in our loan policy, this was a one-time exception. In this case, he was encountered by unforeseen circumstances why he was unable to refund the authority that were disposed to him on official mission overseas. Unfortunately, due to circumstances beyond his control, the mission was subsequently cancelled, leaving him unable to reimburse the authority. We categorized the amount as an emergency loan, considering it as a one-time exception to the exceptional circumstances faced by the individual. To avoid this anomaly, we surcharge the amount of the loan equivalent to the excess over the stipulated limits from his subsequent salary payments. We recognize the importance of maintaining the integrity of our loan system and the need to ensure that all staff members fulfill their financial responsibilities. We are committed to taking all necessary steps to rectify the situation and working closely with the staff member to establish a sustainable payment plan. Thank you.
2.5, say page 9. No cap or policy on unused annual leave balances. During our review of HR records, we noted that there was no cap or policy on annual leave balances from HR. Selected samples from ratings office and delivery and documentation units revealed that some staff have significant unused annual leave balances. A sample of these are detailed in the table below. We also noted that there were no provisions in the financial statement towards accumulated annual leave balance of staff that would be payable upon termination of employment or retirement as highlighted by the Labor Act 2007, Section 3, subsection 4. Implication. Staff not taking leave for extended periods invariably highlights possible impropriety, fraud, or undesirable offering he or she does not want to reveal. On a firmer and more concerning control point is the issue of fraud. Encouraging personnel to take the leave they are due annually increases the likelihood of staff fraud being discovered in their absence. And the idea of, if I'm not here, the process wouldn't work would also be a prominent concern, as it would mean undue dependency on a single or few personnel, and knowledge transfer and or staff training directly relevant to the work at hand is not being prioritized. The accumulation of these leave balances give rise to an obligation as prescribed by the Labor Act, which are not recognized by the authority. There is therefore an understatement of the liability balance reported in the authority's financial statements. Recommendation: management should devise a leave policy on staff annual leaves where a maximum carried forward leave can be pegged on a certain number of days per annum. Once agreed, this should be communicated to all staff. An annual leave plan should be designed by HR in collaboration with department heads, and this should be monitored and updated regularly. All staff must go on annual holidays in compliance with the Labor Act and relevant staff contracts. From a personal well-being standpoint, staff should be encouraged to take time off work to avoid staff burnout and possible frustrations due to fatigue leading to errors, omissions, or poor customer service. Management should conduct an assessment of all outstanding leave balances of staff, ascertain any liability as a result, and take the necessary provisions. Significance high.
Management response. Management is discouraging monetizing leave areas by encouraging staff to proceed with their annual leave. As such, reflecting the leave areas as liabilities in the balance sheet and misleading health is not provision. At present, the HR department has compiled leave areas for all staff members. The process involves accurately assessing the leave balances of each employee and identifying any excessive or unsustainable accumulation. We understand that the lack of cap on leave balances can potentially lead to disruptions in our workforce planning and financial management, and we are committed to address this issue promptly. Staff are sent on leave in tranches of 60 days for all accumulative areas. To ensure a comprehensive and effective solution, department heads have been tasked to develop appropriate leave rosters that consider the operational requirements of each team while considering the well-being and availability of our employees. By involving department heads in the process, we aim to strike a balance that meets the needs of the institution and the preferences of individual staff members. Additionally, we are reviewing our HR policies and procedures to implement a cap on fee balances moving forward. This will provide clarity and consistency across the institution and contribute to better leave management practices. We will work with the relevant stakeholders to develop and communicate these updated policies in a timely manner.
2.6. No CCTV surveillance on wharf covering vessel movement. Vessel movement and/or vessel cargo handling is the core operation and business of the authority. During our review, we observed that there was no CCTV surveillance on the wharf or at vessel berth points capturing and recording vessel activity and cargo handling. Implication: in the event of an accident or theft at these points, there is no recorded footage to refer to for investigative purposes and/or land for preventive purposes. Vessel arrival and departure dates and times at berth are an essential piece of information that directly affects the authority's billing process and key revenue lines. The absence of CCTV surveillance at these berthing points deprives management of checks on its records and systems efficiency. Recommendation: management should install a surveillance system at vessel station points to capture vessel movements and cargo activity. This will act as deterrent for irregularities or malpractices and to reinforce the authority's current recording systems for reasons linked to health and safety, investigative purposes, and to supplement pilotage and stevedoring records. Furthermore, management is more informed in decision-making on the efficiency and effectiveness of its systems and operations. Significance high.
Management response. The camera at the wharf is faulty and the underground is damaged. However, since the authorities recently signed a contract for the CCTV upgrade project with digital cameras, it was decided not to repair the faulty cameras and damaged cables, but rather to replace the entire old system with the new one to be installed soon.
2.7. Non-update and circularization of tariffs. During our review on revenue, we noted that tariffs charged by the authority on the shore handling on empty containers is 12 euros per TEO is different from what is captured in the port dues and tariff circularizations to the staff. We also noted that the demurrage rates for motor vehicles for the second period is currently being charged at 75% of shore handling for motor vehicles. However, the current port dues and tariffs being used reflected a 50% fee. Environmental and ISPC charges are also excluded from tariffs circularized to the staff of the authority. Additionally, charges on navigation aids is still maintained in the tariff. However, this has now been surrendered to the Gambia Maritime Agency. From our review and reperformance of the rating process, we noted incidents of over and under charges made by the authority. Implication: the use of non-updated, formalized, or standardized tariff is susceptible to fraud and manipulation. Making reference to incorrect or irrelevant tariff increases the risk of omissions or incorrect pricing, resulting in under or overcharging customers and potential fraud. Underpricing results in revenue loss for the authority in terms of shore handling or demurrages. Overcharging results in disgruntled customers, especially the shipping airlines, where demurrages are being charged on empty containers, as noted in the significant reversal of such charges in the accounting records. Recommendation: the authority should conduct a comprehensive review of the port dues and rates and update this in line with its current pricing structures. The tariff should be formalized and communicated to relevant staff and published throughout the authority, especially to those whose line of work is dependent on the guidance offered by the tariff. Management should also encourage the direct use of tariff by staff in their pricing or billing work, more so when current staff are rotated to other business work areas which involve the use of tariff and or new staff joining the authority. Management should ensure that a copy of the tariff is made available to them. They should be trained on how to apply the tariff to reduce or avoid the scope of misunderstanding and risk of errors and irregularities. Significance high.
Response. Management intends to carry out a review of the port dues and tariff to ensure that it reflects all the additional new charges, such as environmental and ISPs charges, revised rates, such as demurrage rates for vehicles from 50 to 75% offshore handling and defunct charges, such as Eastern navigation now being charged by GMA. The revised bond dues and tariff would be circulated for use by all staff concerned in the discharge of their duties.
Honorable, my colleague will assist me on the next points on accounting issues.
Thank you, Honorable. May I refer you to page 15, accounting issues.
Hi. Hi.
Okay, page 16. Page 16. Okay, page 16, loan to 3.2, loan to ferries. From our review of loan, we noted new loan granted to Gambia Ferry Services amounting to 104 million. We were not provided with evidence of board approval and the loan agreement. Although 40 million of the total amount was converted to equity, we are concerned that the authority already recognized an impaired receivable balance of 336,879,455 previously given to Gambia Ferry Services. The likelihood of recovering the additional loan is slim. Implication: the authority is providing funding that is likely to be recovered and may result in further financial losses, noting that some of the previous funds were borrowed by GPA with associated financial costs. GPA is constantly funding a non-viable subsidiary, and these funds could have been invested in more rewarding projects that will increase financial performance and efficiency in the operation of the port. Recommendation: the authority should ensure that all loans to partners are fully repaid before granting new loans. Management should facilitate financial independence of its subsidiaries. Significance high.
Management response. The loan to ferries was approved by the board. MD and acting director will provide the board approval. The board loan was disbursed. However, the possibility of the loan being repaid by ferries is low. Thus, the reason for the 100% provision made for the loan in the accounts. The agreement was signed by the MD, GPA, and GM Ferries. A copy was provided to you.
For reaction to management response, board approval letter was not provided for our review. May I refer you to page 17, observation 3.3, on the statement of payable balances. During our review of sundry creditors and accruals, we noted differences between the general ledger and listing amounting to 2.8 and 1 million respectively, as highlighted below. The differences noted above were not reconciled by management. Implications: this indicate a potential misstatement and incompleteness of the payable balances reported by the authority as at 31st December 2021. Recommendation: management should investigate and reconcile the difference noted above. Significance high.
Management response. The creditors account was reconciled for the year ended 31st December 2021, and necessary adjustments made for the difference. The accruals account was also reconciled for the year ended 31st December 2021. However, we can confirm that the balance in the GL of $194,779,428 is the same as the listing balance of $194,779,428. Evidence is available for review.
Thank you. Page 18, observation 3.4, suspense accounts. We noted a suspense account balance of 10.7 million. Upon further investigation, we noted it related to additional cost on acquisition of plot of land by the authority for staff. However, the additional cost was not allocated to the relevant staff who were allocated the land. Implication: the amount reported in the suspense account represents an asset receivable, but this could be a financial losses if not allocated and recovered from the relevant staff. Recommendation. Management should allocate this amount to the relevant staff who were allocated the land. Significance high.
Management response. Managing Director of Legal Affairs Manager are working to resolve this issue of whether to recover the amount from beneficial staff or from respective defaulted estate agents.
Okay. On the same page 18. 3.5 Valuation of ADB loan balance. Reported in the financial statement is a balance of 226,552,614 million relating to loan payable to ADB as at 31st December 2021. From our review, we noted the authority obtained a loan of UA 16 million from ADB through the government of the Gambia, which was equivalent to 208 million as at the signing of the agreement. The government of the Gambia signed off the loan agreement with ADB on 19 April 1994 and had a sub-agreement with the Gambia Post Authority dated 29 May 1994. Considering the depreciation of Dalasi against the lending currency UA, the authority has been suffering significant exchange loss. From our discussion with management, we are informed that the loan balance has been waived by AFDB, therefore terminating the primary loan agreement. However, this waiver and termination of agreement was not extended to the subsidiary loan agreement with GPA. Implication: the authority has been suffering significant exchange loss resulting in an increase of the loan balance from 208 million to 226 million after 28 years, to the extent that the loan was converted to GMD without the necessary approval from the government of the Gambia. Maintenance of loan result, tight cash flow, and such funds could have been contributed towards the authority operation on other investments such as expansion project. Recommendation: management should engage the government of the Gambia to review and extend the waiver granted by ADB to the subsidiary loan agreement and relieve the GPA of the loan burden. Significance high.
Management response. The board directed that government be requested to denominate a loan to Dallas from UA and Mafia, that's Ministry of Finance and Economic Affairs, was written to accordingly, and the loan is finally offset against amounts receivable from government.
Page 20, observation 3.7, show handling and demurrage or rent charges misappropriated. As reported by internal audit in its report on misappropriation of port revenue on show handling and punitive charges, reported that the rating unit colluded with the delivery and documentation to devalue demurrage or rent charges and provide stamped gate passes for cargo exiting the GPA premises. As a follow-up, we selected sample of 2 ships, which were Calypso and Miro, and carried out tests which revealed that the amount of about 287,000 and of demurrage rent was understated for the month of May 2021 only. These differences are highlighted below. Implication: this is an indication that the authority is losing revenue on show handling and demurrage charges, which is partly due to lack of control around the rating and delivery and documentation units. Recommendation: management should endeavor to put in place control to help mitigate the risk of fraud within these departments. Significance high.
Management response. This observation is noted. The difference reported is being investigated and the lesser adjustments will be made.
Yeah. May I refer you to page 22 of the
Mr. Chairman.
Chairman. Yes, sir.
Yes, we want to inquire whether these people numbers are there. K97D and
Management response.
No, wait. Okay.
Another
Some people.
6439X. VJL 6439X.
That's yours. Please, you are near the car park. You block the speaker.
How about KM?
The KM 9072. KM 9072. Is that your car? KM 9072.
Okay, let's continue.
Continue 3.9.
Page
22.
22. Management response. The loss of handling revenue reported is noted. The matter is being investigated and we await the final report of the National Party's office and further decision while the staff is involved.
Hello?
Yes.
Finance Director.
Yes.
We are not judging you. I think
Can you speak into the
if you can
bring it a little bit.
draw the mic closer.
Management response. The loss of handling revenues reported is noted. This matter is being investigated and we await the final report from the National Audit Office for the final decision while the staff involved have been interdicted and sent on administrative leave. To minimize these types of occurrences, the authority has developed an in-house IT system for the automatic rating computation. The new system is now on a trial run and is proving to achieve the desired objectives.
May I reply page 22, observation 3.9, basis for payment of staff bonus. During our review of the authority expenditure, we noted an amount of 85 million.
Speak up.
Okay. Basis for payment of staff bonus. During our review of the authority's expenditure, we noted an amount of 85 million accrued for staff bonus. We were not provided with documentary evidence for this basis of the provision for this. From inquiry with management, it was disclosed that this was accrued based on staff 3 months basic salary, which is on a flat line instead of being linked to performance of the authority and individual performance. Implication: bonuses are meant to serve as incentive for staff output and overall improved performance of the entity. Therefore, payment of these on a flat line basis could be demotivating to the performing staff. The authority might also be obliged to pay this regardless of performance. Recommendation: staff bonuses should be linked to performance of the entity as a whole, then staff at department and individual level. Once a basis or formula has been established and agreed, this should be documented for references, target sets, and monitor. Significance high.
Manager response. The payment of bonuses is provided for in the annual recurrent budget for all staff based on the authority's performance, and the matter is always subjected to board approval. Going forward, a performance system is in place for staff to be assessed based on individual performance to guide bonus payment where practicable.
Page 25, information technology, observation 525.
How about 24?
23.
These are outstanding information, but before signing the audit, we did subsequent audit work because we could not get the confirmations.
Okay.
Audit work.
Okay. Page 25, information technology, 5.1, breaks in information flow. We also noted that the authority has breaks in its information system in capturing and supplying essential information from one department to another. We noticed instances where information was being shared through WhatsApp or via flash drive between the traffic department, pilotages and delivery and documentation regarding vessels and or cargo movement which needs to be shared to other units to raise bills or price delivery orders. In addition, there is prevalent use of non-genuine Microsoft Office product, often prompting for activation code. Implication: The breaks and or medium of transfer create delays in billing process and on an added concern over the confidentiality, storage and ease of references of the authority document to staff personal devices. The media mentioned above are not with formal means of communication for the authority, resulting in loss of records, evidence or audit trails and accountability. Software viruses and malware drive and on flash drives and in use on multiple devices increases the risk of computer files being corrupted. The use of non-genuine Microsoft Office product is a limited version with few features, and there are concerns over safety and accuracy of the information as it can be easily corrupted or crash. Above all, use of pirated or non-licensed Microsoft products or software is illegal and has reputational and legal implications for the authority. Recommendation: management should consider the use of more secure formal communication chain that ensures audit trails and recording. This should be done through an official platform, example, the official email where members can access information safely and on demand. Management should also, by use of IT department, afford its staff to the use of genuine Microsoft products and other needed software to enable them to better execute their work online and receive necessary software updates. Significance high.
Management response. The IT department noted the above observations and respond as follows. The show handling revenue collection system is currently deployed to take care of the delivery order and getting invoices. The new official website will be having a section for updating of daily resolutions where all respective parties can have access to it. We have blocked the use of USB drives on all the authority system and implemented an authority-wide information or data sharing platform. The department started an exercise in installing genuine Microsoft OS operating system on all the authority system, and a recommendation that all procure systems should have an OEM operating system reinstalled during delivery. The department is still working towards installing or licensing the affected systems. This can take some time due to the following: procuring of additional license to limited capacity for the installation of the license for the affected system.
Verify it is page 27, area management data points.
Please, those that are
Okay. 2020 management letter. 6.1 authorities website. From our review of the authority website, we observed that the changes in senior management position were not updated. Implication: this implies that the website is not regularly updated and could therefore be misleading to outside users. Status of implementation: not implemented.
Management response. Management response. We are currently developing a new website. The new site is scheduled to go live in April 2022 and will be capable of having the suggested data on the website. This will require senior management endorsement to have the said information available online and any other information deemed important and relevant for the consumption of the public, albeit bearing in mind the competitiveness of the port not to be threatened or affected by disclosing sensitive trade information.
Page 28, observation 6.2, expired contract not renewed. During our review and further investigation, we noted some contract for services being rendered to the authority that were expired and has not been renewed. The exceptions noted are as detailed below. Recommendation: all expired contracts with active services should be formally renewed and necessarily update the terms and conditions of the contract. Status of implementation: not implemented.
Management response. Implemented as new contracts signed in 2022-2023.
Page 29. Observation 6.3. 6.3.1 exceeded credit limits. Establishing approved credit limits minimize the risk of exposure to customers while maximizing revenue and cash flow of the authority. During our review of the control around the authority trade receivable, we noted that the approved credit limits were exceeded by major customers without approval as detailed below. 6.3.2 No documented policy or procedure on credit limits. During our review, it was noted that the authority lacks formal and written policy and procedure on credit limits. Recommendation. Management should ensure that these credits are in place for all credit customers and should be regularly monitored on a timely basis to ensure that these limits are not exceeded. Potential exceed should be sent to the delegated authority for approval. The authority should endeavor to draw up a policy on credit limits. The documented policy should define the criteria for credit limits and the threshold for customers. Status of implementation, not implemented.
Management response. The issue of credit limits is now overtaken by events such as the GPA now requires advance payment before vessel arrivals. This was implemented in March 2023. The establishment of an ICD, that's Internal Container Depot, operated by SMG, now means that debt on empties does not arise as the new containers demand within the port premises are easily accessible under first-in, first-out terms, and thus no justification to accord waivers on empty rent charges.
Page 30. Observation 6.4 dock workers. 6.4.1 Remuneration of dock workers. From our review of the dock workers' remuneration, and we observed that the payments were done through cash. We are concerned with the volume of cash transaction and associated risks of fraud and theft. 6.4.2 No documented policy or procedure on dock workers' loan. During our review of the authority staff and other loans, we noted that there was no documented policy on granting dock workers loan, although management confirmed that the dock workers obtained and filed loan forms which are evaluated by the finance department before approval of the managing director. There were no formalized or documented policy and procedure for the application process and evaluation criteria prior to approval. We also requested for a sample of approved loan application form for dock workers detailed in the table below. However, these were not provided for our review. 6.4.3 No collateral on dock workers loan. We also noted that dock workers make loan applications to the authority through their union. The union presented a proposal to GPA management listing members with irrespective loan amount requested. According to management, loans are granted after evaluation, but no collateral is provided by the members of the union. Recommendation. Management should prepare a formalized policy and procedure on loan granted to dock workers so as to minimize the inherent and associated risks resulting from default and potential abuse. Management should ensure that all supporting documents on loan granted to dock workers, including evidence of evaluation done, collateral, and agreed terms and conditions of the loan are filed and readily available for reference and review. Appropriate and adequate collateral security document and guarantee should be obtained by management as security before loans are granted. Status of implementation, not implemented.
Management response. All liabilities of dock workers are recovered at the conclusion of the collective bargaining severance payment. Done.
Page 34. Observation 6.8 Impair assets. The internal audit team carried out the physical verification of the authority's fixed assets and noted assets that have been demolished or not operational. We confirm that this impaired asset has current values amounting to 36.9 million and impaired charges were not made. The value of these assets in the register are as detailed below. Recommendation. Management should account for impairment of these assets to reflect their appropriate value in the financial statement. The amount material and the impairment is not recognized, our audit opinion could be impacted. The main assets should be assessed for repair or disposal and all proceeds accounted for accordingly. Status of implementation not implemented.
Management response. Upon confirmation of their impairment, the appropriate accounting adjustments will be made.
Page 35, 2019 Management Letter. Observation 6.9, Risk Management. Risk management is an integral part of an entity and is required to ensure that any potential threats to the entity's success are identified and dealt with effectively and on a timely manner. We noted with concern that the authority does not have a risk management unit or process in place. Recommendation. Management should establish a risk management process for identification and management of risks for the authority to identify and manage threats while capitalizing on opportunities. Status of implementation not implemented.
Management response. The risk manager was appointed in 2022 and an ERP policy and framework has been prepared and submitted to the board for consideration.
Still on page 35. Observation 6.1. Board Audit Committee meeting. During our review around the authority's control environment, we noted that the Board Audit Committee met only twice during the period under review. Internal audit work plan. We also noted from our review that the internal audit annual work plan was not approved by the committee. Recommendation. The audit committee should meet at least quarterly to discuss issues raised in quarterly audit reports and monitor and ensure that management implement internal and external audit recommendation. The committee should be responsible for approval of internal audit annual work plan, monitor and review and the effective of internal audit, carrying out a thorough review in line with prioritized risk areas. Status of implementation not implemented.
Management response. Observation noted and the committee will be obliged to meet regularly.
Page 36. Observation 6.11. Internal Audit Department. Pre-audit activities. From our review of the function of the authority's internal audit department, we noted that the department is involved in the process of the authority as vet all payment vouchers before payments are made. Follow-up on recommendation. We noted our review of the internal audit report that recommendations were not implemented by management as reports were mostly on recurring issues. Quality assurance review. The international standards for professional practice of internal auditing requires for external assessment of internal audit department to be conducted at least once every 5 years by a qualified independent assessor or assessment team from outside the organization. Standard 1312. From our review of the authority's internal audit department, we noted that a quality assurance review have not been conducted for the department. Recommendation. The Board of Directors should empower the internal audit department and ensure that it is independent of the processes of the authority as defined by the Charter. The internal audit department should follow up on recommendation as part of their audit. Furthermore, the audit committee should ensure that management takes responsibility for implementing of audit recommendation. The authority should also ensure quality assurance review of the internal audit department as required by the Institute of Internal Audit Standards. Status of implementation not implemented.
Management response. Observations noted for implementation. Plans are under meeting to implement post-audit exercise, fully consultation with MOFEA appointed consultant to engage the GPA for sensitization on the audit charter.
Page 37, observation 6.12, service rule book. The service rulebook of the authority details out all staff provision and should therefore be effectively communicated to all staff of the authority. As part of our review process, we reviewed the personnel of a traffic clerk. However, we were unable to obtain any evidence to confirm that the service rule was given to that staff. Recommendation. Management should ensure a proper communication of staff provision by giving every staff of the authority a copy of the service rule book. This should be assigned for all employees, confirming receipts and filed by HR. Status of implementation not implemented.
Management response. Due to the necessity to amend certain sections of the service rule, which was already approved by the Board of Directors, it was deemed fitting to hold onto the distribution of the document to the staff until such a time that the amendments are made.
Page 38. Observation 6.13. Performance appraisal. According to section 0 to 12 of the service rule of the authority, a comprehensive staff appraisal policy for the authorities shall be provided, detailing the responsibility of the reporting officers, timing of reports, the appropriate form to be used, and the mechanics for implementing the appraisal scheme. The authorities will ensure that the process involves all staff. During our review process, we requested for evidence of performance appraisal for Ibrahima Kinte, a staff of the authority. However, no evidence was provided to confirm that this was conducted. We were informed that other selected staffs are appraisal when identified for training or promotion. Recommendation. Management should ensure that staff appraisal are conducted at least once a year for all staff of the authority. This will facilitate informed decision making in recruitment, training, and retention of required skills and competencies, among other benefits. Status of implementation not implemented.
Management response. Performance appraisal exercise for staff has now been undertaken.
Page 42. Observation 6.17. Revenue tariff. The authority, post due and regulation service has formal pricing for all services provided by the authority and are used as reference for all its customers. However, during our review of the authority shore handling revenue, we noted that the current tariff on storage rental for stock consignment was not updated in the post due. The current tariff was updated in 2007 and the post due was last updated in 2017. Recommendation. Management should ensure that the current staffing on storage handling is updated in the authority post due and regulation. Status of implementation not implemented.
Management response. Tariff marked for review by management to incorporate all the latest adjustments made.
Still on page 42. Observation 6.18, customer complaints. During our review process, we noted the authority does not have a policy or process for recording and addressing of customer complaints. Recommendation. Management should consider creating a process for recording complaints and obtaining feedback from customers. This should go a long way in assisting management to be more informed and improve the services for customers. Above all, process should facilitate the identification of crucial areas that needed improvement in terms of service delivery and policy and procedures of the authority. Status of implementation not implemented.
Management response. Implemented as the new complaints solution boxes installed at the reception of the GPA head office. A customer survey has been undertaken, results documented, and validation conducted with producers. Action points has been developed for implementation of concerns raised by the producers.
Page 45. Observation 6.21. Credit limits. Establishing appropriate credit limits minimize the risk of exposure to customers while maximizing revenue and cash flow of the authority. During our review of controls around the authority's treasury, we noted that the approved credit limits were exceeded by major customers without approval as detailed below. We also noted major customers with no credit line in place as detailed below. Recommendation. Management should ensure that credit limits are in place for all credit customers and should be regularly monitored on a timely basis to ensure that these limits are not exceeded. Potential exceeds should be sent to the delegated authority for approval. Status of implementation, not implemented.
Management response. The issue of credit limits is now overtaken by events such as the GPA now requires advance payment before vessel arrivals. This was implemented in March 2023. The establishment of an ICD operated by SMB now means that revenue on empties does not arise as the few containers demand import services are easily accessible on the first in first out terms, and thus no justification to appropriate was implement charges.
Page 46, observation 6.22, fixed asset control. Asset target. During our test of controls around the authority fixed assets, we noted that the assets recorded in the fixed asset register were not coded for ease of references and identification. As a result, we could not physically verify the existence and the condition of some of the sample fixed assets. Monitoring of assets below capitalization threshold. As per the authority's accounting policy, assets costing less than $25,000 shall be recorded in the FA register without a value for control purposes. We noted that assets under the capitalization threshold are not logged for monitoring below a sample of these assets. Recommendation. Management should ensure that all assets are coded and periodic fixed asset verification is carried out to help identify existing and missing assets and update the fixed asset register. Management should also ensure that assets below the capitalization threshold are logged in the fixed asset register for monitoring. Status of implementation, not implemented.
Management response. Implemented as the asset tagging was done by the State Department in collaboration with the Internal Audit Department.
Page 47, observation 6.23, waivers on storage rental, documented or policy or procedures. During our review of the authority revenue on so handling, we noted that the waivers were granted to customers on storage rental for stock consignment. Although the port due and regulations suggest that the waivers could be granted to customers on storage rental in the case of hardship, there are no formalized or documented policy and procedure for the application and granting of waivers. All waivers are given at the discretion of the managing director. Although we are informed that the board grants approval for the waivers, we were not provided with evidence of board approval or management reports sent to board related to waivers. Accounting for waivers. We also noted from our review of the authority revenue that the waivers granted to customers were not fully and appropriately accounted for. The amount waived are deducted from the revenue recorded, then net is recognized as revenue. According to reports by the Internal Audit Department, waivers granted on storage rental amounting to 12.8 million during the period under review. Recommendation. Management should formalize the process of application and granting of waivers. The documented policy and procedure of waivers should be defined, the criteria for one to qualify for a waiver, how the application be initiated and processed, identify the authorization and approval process. Management should report to board periodically on waivers granted as potential loss of revenue of the waivers is significant. Waivers granted on these charges should be fully and appropriately accounted for and disclosed in line with the general accepted accounting principle. Status of implementation, not implemented.
Management response. Waivers are now less frequent as the new handling revenue system only allows people to be approved in the system.
Page 48, observation 6.24, ex-staff loan. During our review of the staff loan balance of 269 million, we noted non-performing ex-staff loan amounting to 9.5 recorded in the books of the authority. According to the GPA service rule, a contract shall be in place for all outstanding staff loans. However, we were not provided with contract agreement with staff on these outstanding balances together with evidence of follow-up made or repayment received from ex-staffs. Recommendations. Once approved staff loan terms and conditions should be formalized and documented as an agreement. Staff that leave the authority should settle fully all outstanding balances in line with the authority's policy. Stages of implementation not implemented.
Response. Reminder letters were sent. Reminder letters were sent to staff for settlement of their liabilities with the authority. This followed the establishment of a debt recovery committee by management.
Page 51. Observation 6.28, MOU with Gambia Ferry. As at year end, there was a receivable from Gambia Ferry Services amounting to 336 million relating to loan granted to the ferries for the procurement of Punta Kinte Ferry. However, no agreement or MOU for this arrangement was provided for our review. Recommendation. The authority should have a formalized documented agreement with Gambia Ferry Services with regard to the highlighted receivable balance, and this should be provided by management for our review. Status of implementation not implemented.
Management response. Management will continue to make follow-ups with Gambia Ferry Services to have the MOU available for review by the external auditors.
Page 52, observation 6.29, management of Banjul Fisheries Jetty. We noted that the authority provided management services for Banjul Fisheries Jetty. However, the MOU for the management service provided for our review was applicable for only 1 year from January 2001 to 31st December 2001. Although the MOU was not renewed or extended, the authority still continued to provide management service without the mandate. Furthermore, the authority collects revenue on behalf of PFG. It got total cost amounting to 13.7 million related to operation of jetty, even though it was specifically stated that in the expired agreement that the authorities should not incur operational cost of the jetty. Recommendation. Management and operation of Banjul jetty should be clarified with the government of the Gambia, as it is a separate legal entity different from the operation of the GPA. As separate legal entity, the jetty should be managed and operated independently by a capable management. Status of implementation not implemented.
Management response. The management has taken notes and will continue to follow up with the board and government. However, the revenue of the jetty mainly offsets the expenses incurred by the authority on its behalf.
Page 56, observation 6.33, revenue, accounting for rebates. During our review of the authority revenue general ledger, we noted debit amounting to 3.6 related to rebate granted to customers on through output. These are recognized within the revenue instead of separately being accounted for as discount allowed. Waivers. We also noted from the authority revenue general ledger debit amounting to 23 million related to waiver granted to tankers and petroleum products as listed below. These are recognized within the revenue instead of separately being accounted for as discount allowed. According to management, some of these were approved by the board. However, we are yet to obtain evidence of board approval. Recommendation. All waivers and rebates granted to customers should be separately reported in the financial statement of the authority for conformance with general accounting principles. Page 57, still on next page, page 57. All approval for the granting of waivers highlighted above should be provided for our review. Management should establish a pituitary revenue sharing policy to ensure that the revenue balance is not understated and that the process for recruiting and clearing of these by the pilots is properly defined. Status of implementation not implemented.
A response. The observation concerning the waivers and the bids have been implemented in the creation of the new expense account codes in the access account system.
Still on page 57, observation 6.34, consolidated financial statement. The consolidated financial statement of the authority and its subsidiaries, Banjul Ferry Services and Banjul Shipyard, is yet to be provided for our review. Recommendation: management should provide a consolidated financial statement for our review and reporting. Status of implementation not implemented.
Management response. This observation has been implemented as the GPA has recognized the investment in Gambia Ferry Services and Banjul Shipyard in 2021. Also, a draft consolidated financial statement was prepared for the year 2019, 2020, and 2021 based on the GPA's audited financial statement and the management accounts of the subsidiaries.
That's all.
Chairman?
Yes, sir.
Thank you so much. That has brought to the presentation from GBA. We are only now left with the ferries. I think we can break for... Let's break for 15 minutes, then we can come back for the ferries.
Yes.
Present the activity report.
You can summarize it.
Please, no problem, sir. Good afternoon, Chair. I'm here presenting the Gambia Ferry Services Company Limited activity report for the year ending December 2021. On page 1 is the introduction and the financial performance. The Gambia is divided by the river Gambia into two banks, which is not only a vital source of economic activity in terms of movement of goods and people, farming and fisheries, and other commercial activities, but also pose a big challenge in terms of moving people, goods and services across the river, and also connecting the northern and southern part of Senegal. It is for this reason that the Gambia Ferry Service was incorporated under the Companies Act. And we also have, we were mandated with the following crossings: Banjul, Bara, Kau, Bara Jali, Bansang, Janjambure, Basse, and Fatoto. All rail stations are loss-making, hence the reason why ferry service is deemed as a company providing social service, relying solely on Gambia Ports Authority and occasional grants to fund its operating and capital budget deficits. Prior to the opening of the Senegambia Bridge in 2019, the Trans-Gambia was the only crossing point that was profitable and provided cross-subsidy to the Provincial and Banjul Bara stations. To financial performance, the total operating profit has increased from 172 million in 2020 to 256.4 in 2021, representing a 49% increase, and the gross profit to move from 109 million in 2020 to 156.9 million in 2021, and the loss after tax increased from a loss of 109.2 million in 2020 to 153.4 million loss in 2021, due mainly to the changes in the salary and allowance structure of the GPA and its subsidiaries. The non-current assets decreased from 800.2 million to 748.5 million, representing the depreciation charge during the year. The retained earnings increased retained earnings increased from a deficit 625.8 million to 777.4 million as at the period under review, mainly as a result of the total cumulative losses since delinking in 2001. On page 2, Mr. Chair, we have the total number of ferries, total number of passengers ferried across the country as 3,711,129, and for Banjul Bara was 3,517,000, and the remaining 194,099 were ferried across the provincial stations. As for vehicles, 175,416 were ferried across all stations, with Banjul and Bara crossing 142,865, the remaining 32,551 for the provincial stations. The strategies introduced recently to improve on the financial health of the company are the investments in the procurement of bigger size ferries. That's, for example, the Kunta Kinte, which was procured by the GPA in July 2017 at a total cost of 10 million euros. The second strategy also introduced was some years ago in April 2018, when we introduced tariff increment of 25% across all major crossings, which resulted in the full recovery of this operating cost. After the tariff increment across all the major crossing points, the revenue earnings of the company increased by about 25%. Okay, in 2019, which slightly compensated for some of the increases in material cost inputs over the years, especially considering that the growth in costs was 600% between 2001 to 2018. With the tariff increment, Trans-Gambia registered increased profitability. As you know, it was our only profitable crossing point. Banjul and Bara has been loss-making since 2001, while the remaining 6 provincial stations also continue to be loss-making. The next intervention we made is the rehabilitation in the ferries on page 3. Despite being loss-making, the company invested over 200 million in rehabilitation and upgrading of the technical capabilities of the ferries over the past 5 years to ensure that the ferries are not only safe and reliable, but they are able to match the demand for ferry services across the country. This has significantly impacted on the deployment and turnaround times of the ferries, which in turn also resulted in an increase in revenue for Banjul and Bara. The main areas, another main area of consideration was this management of the Senegambia bridge operation. Since the opening of the bridge, that's point 4 on page 3, since the opening of the bridge in January 2019, the company had been given the temporal responsibility of managing its operations, and to this end, it had funded the initial capital outlay in terms of temporal office accommodation, procurement of generators, computers, ticketing machines, and the paying of staff salaries. Given that the company had demonstrated its ability to effectively and efficiently manage the operations, provided that it has the resources required to maintain the facilities adequately, especially the way bridges, which are in a deplorable condition. It is prudent that the arrangement is formalized and the company is given the responsibility to continue managing the bridge at a fee that would guarantee full recovery of its costs, plus a margin that would partly compensate for the revenue losses of the Trans-Gambia terminal, and enable the company to provide much needed subsidy for the other stations that are operating at a loss, particularly the provincial stations. The opportunities being looked at, introduction of the bigger capacity ferries, as mentioned above, replacement of the existing landing bridges. The company signed a contract with Diamond CPI for replacement of the landing bridges at both Banjul and Bara in around June 2020 at a total cost of 42 million. Upon completion, the company restored its 50-ton load limit for trucks, which led to increase in revenue earnings. The other issue was the tariff increment, and another opportunity being looked at in the long term is that was looked at was for the 24-hour operation for the Banjul Bara, for the company to remain efficient and a going concern amid strong competition from the bridge. Management is studying the feasibility of providing 24-hour service between Banjul and Bara crossing point to ensure that waiting time for customers who might otherwise use the Senegal Bridge is kept at the barest minimum. The reduction in the dependence of the provincial stations on Banjul and Bara, mainly by investing in the provincial stations, also having a functional shipyard would also assist in timely dry docking of the ferries. Then on page 5 we have the stress, which is mainly the low tariff as the first point, knowing that our tariff structure is regulated by government. The second threat is the high personnel cost. 4 out of our 8 ferry crossing points are all discontinued, whilst we still maintain the overall staff strength. So we would need to do staff restructuring exercise going forward, or unless we have heavy investments in the fleet, which might lead to a 24-hour service. In that case, maybe the retrenchment or the restructuring would not be very heavy. Another threat of the company is the poor performance of our provincial stations, due mainly the tariff structure. We are regulated by government as far as the tariff crossing is concerned. Another threat is the competition from the bridge. We all know that because of the time it takes to cross at Banjul and Bara crossing point, the vehicle users especially would be tempted to use the bridge rather than, unless if they are very close to the north bank, in which case it is much more economical to wait for to cross. So, to conclude, Mr. Chairman, honorable members of the National Assembly and subject matter specialists, the dedication, commitment, and willingness of the company staff is commendable, and we shall continue to strive harder to achieve our corporate objectives. The pride of this nation, as far as the ferry service is concerned, will be protected. At the same time, security of passengers will continue to be accorded priority. To achieve the company's goals and objectives, there is need to generate enough resources from internal sources and rely less on GPA for intervention. GPA intervention for something as basic as repairs and maintenance of the ferries. We therefore crave the indulgence of all stakeholders, especially the government, to provide us with their unalloyed support. I think, Mr. Chair, before concluding, I want to reiterate to accept the unfortunate situation that happened with the delay of our annual accounts and the late presentation of the activity report this morning. I want to assure the National Assembly that it is a legacy issue, and be rest assured that we are doing our utmost to ensure that the backlog of annual accounts reporting is a thing of the past, and we apologize once again for the present status. Thank you.
Thank you, Manji. I think that is noted. If we can continue to maintain that one and improve upon recovery all the work, it will be better for us. But we have high regards for you to making sure that these things are resolved and it becomes a thing of the past. Thank you. Can we move to the financial statement?
Honorable Chairman, I now call on the Director of Finance, Ferry, to take us through this financial statement.
Thank you very much, Chairman, GPA report. Yes, I have the pleasure of presenting the financial statements for the Gambia Ferry Services for the year ending 31st of December.
I think let's use this one.
Hello? Hello?
No, let me take this one.
Hello?
Hello?
Hello. Yes, I'm presenting the financial statements for the Gambia Ferry Services for the year ended 31st December 2021. And I would like to refer you to page number 9 of the financial statements.
Yes?
Yes. So, income statement for the year ending 31st of December 2021. Revenue 2021 is 256,447,000. 2020, 172,271. Cost of sales 2021 minus 99,473,000. 2020 minus 63,178,000. Gross profit 2021 156,974,000. 2020 109,093,000. Personnel cost 2021 minus 190,105. 2020 121,504,000. Administrative expenses 2021 minus 63,498,000. 2020 56,273,000. Depreciation charges 2021 minus 64,780,000. 2020 minus 62,925,000. Other income 8,256,000. 2020 27,922,000. Operating loss 2021 minus 153,154,000. 2020 minus 103,687,000. Interest payable and similar charges 2021 nil. 2020 minus 50,000. Foreign currency translation gains 2021 2,365,000. 2020 2,855,000. Loss before tax 2021 minus 150,789,000. 2020 minus 100,882,000. Taxation 2021 2,671,000 minus. 2020 minus 2,030,000. Loss for the year 2021 153,459,000 minus. 2020 minus 102,912,000. Balance sheet as at 31st of December 2021. Property, plant and equipment 2021 748,450,000. 2020 800,216,000. Inventory 2021 7,380,000. 2020 7,758,000. Receivables 2021 96,209,000. 2020 71,550,000. Cash and cash equivalents 2021 28,379,000. 2020 17,068,000. Total current assets 2021 131,968,000. 2020 96,376,000. Total assets 2021 880,419,000. 2020 896,592,000. Share capital 2021 50 million. 2020 50 million. Capital fund 2021 45,735,000. 2020 45,735,000. Retained earnings 2021 minus 777,405,000. 2020 minus 625,822,000. Total equity 2021 681,670,000. 2020 minus 530,088,000. Capital grant 2021 10,773,000. 2020 16,159,000. Social Security and Housing Finance Corporation / GPA loan account 2021 nil. 2020 1,500,000. Diamond Supply Credit Facility 2021 336,879,000. 2020 336,879,000. Gambia Ports Authority 1,109,798,000. 2020 998,730,000. Total current liability 2021 1,457,450,000. 2020 1,353,268. Sorry, 1,353,268,000. Bank overdraft 2021 nil. 2020 480,000. Trade and order payables 2021 95,614,000. 2020 63,049,000. Income tax 2021 9,024,000. 2020 9,882,000. Total current liabilities 2021 104,638,000. 2020 73,411,000. Total equity and liability 2021 880,419,000. 2020 896,592,000. Page number 11, statement of changes in equity. 4th of January 2020, share capital 50,000. Capital fund, share capital is 50 million. Capital fund is 45,735,000. Retained earnings minus 522,911,000. Total minus 427,176,000. Profit for the year. Share capital nil. Capital fund nil. Retained earnings minus 102,912,000. Total minus 102,912,000. As at 31st of December 2020, share capital 50 million. Capital fund 45,735,000. Retained earnings minus 625,822,000. Total minus 503,087,000. As at 31st of January 2021, share capital 50 million. Capital fund 45,735,000. Retained earnings minus 625,822,000. Total 530,087,000. Profit or loss per year. Share capital nil. Capital fund nil. Retained earnings minus 153,459,000. Total minus 153,459,000. Prior adjustment. Share capital nil. Capital fund nil. Retained earnings 1,876,000. Total 1,876,000. As at 31st of December 2021, share capital is 50 million. Capital fund 45,735,000. Retained earnings minus 777,405,000. Total minus 681,670,000. Page number 12, which is the statement of cash flow as at 31st of December 2021. Operating profit or loss before tax, 2021 minus 150,789,000. 2020 is minus 100,882,000. Depreciation charges, 2021 64,780,000. 2020 62,926,000. Movement in working capital, increase or decrease in inventory, 2021 378,000. 2020 it's minus 2,052,000. Increase or decrease in liabilities, 2021 minus 33,283,000. 2020 is 17,252,000. Increase or decrease in receivables, 2021 40,702,000. 2020 it's 4,415,000. Income tax paid, 2021 minus 3,528,000. 2020 minus $3 million. Net cash flows from operating activities, 2021 minus 81,730,000. 2020 minus 21,341,000. Prior year adjustments, 2021 is 1,876,000. 2020 is nil. Acquisition of fixed assets, 2021 minus 13,016,000. 2020 is minus 51,640,000. Assets transferred, 2021 nil. 2020 is 32,150,000. Net cash flows from investing activities, 2021 is minus 13,016,000. 2020 is minus 19,490,000. Increase or decrease in loan, 2021 nil. 2020 is 3 million. Increase or decrease in capital grants, 2021 minus 5,386,000. 2020 minus 5,387,000. Increase or decrease in GPE investments, 2021 is 111,068,000. 2020 is 45,867,000. Social Security GPA loan, 2021 is 1,500,000 minus. 2020 is nil. Net cash flows from financial activities, 2021 is 104,182,000. 2020 is 37,480,000. Net decrease or increase in cash and cash equivalents, 2021 is 11,312,000. 2020 is minus 3,351,000. Cash and cash equivalents as of 1st January 2021. 2021, 70,067,000. 2020 is 20,480,000. Cash and cash equivalents as of 31st of December 2021. 2021 is 28,379,000. And 2020 is 17,067,000. That brings me to the end of the financial statements.
And to Finance Director,
yes.
Can we proceed to we start with the opinion from the Finance Director as usual.
Thank you, Honorable Chair. Please refer to page 6 of the financial statements of Gambia Ferry Services Company Limited. Independent Auditors Report to the Board of Directors of the Gambia Ferry Services Company Limited. Auditor's Opinion. We have audited the financial statements of the Gambia Ferry Services Company Limited, which comprises of the balance sheet, the income statement, the cash flow statement, and a statement of changes in equity for the year that ended, and notes to the financial statements, including accounting policies applicable to the company. In our opinion, the financial statements give a true and fair view of the financial position of the company as at 31st of December 2021, and of its financial performance and its cash flows for the year that ended in accordance with generally accepted accounting principles and in line with the requirements of the Companies Act 2013. Signed, Augustus Prom, Registered Auditors. So, Madam Minister, we just focus on the grade 1 points.
Yes.
Yeah? Okay. Please refer to page 15. Point 3, Information Technology, Disaster Contingency Recovery Plan, DCRP, observation. During our review of the information technology aspect of the corporation, we requested a disaster recovery plan document, but it was confirmed to us that the DCRP is not maintained by the company. Implication: the absence of a disaster recovery plan poses a significant risk to business continuity. In the event of a disaster or system failure, the organization may struggle to recover critical IT systems and data. Without a documented DRP, there may be concerns related to data and information security. A well-defined plan is essential for ensuring that secure recovery of data and systems following a disruptive event within the company.
The observation that the company doesn't have a disaster recovery plan is noted. Kindly note that the Information Technology Department takes daily backup of all servers and ticketing machines, which are saved in an external hard drive kept in a fireproof safe, and a copy also sent to the file server on the network. What is lacking is the documentation of the disaster recovery plan, which is being developed.
Page 16.4, maintenance labor, 3.797 million. Observation: as at 31st of December 2021, the total amount incurred in relation to maintenance labor amounted to Gambian dollars 3.797 million. Upon our review on the expenditures in relation to the maintenance labor, we noted that the expenditures do not come through the procurement, but handled by the maintenance department, which implies poor duty segregation and a high risk of irregularities occurring. A sample of these transactions reviewed was as follows, which exceeded a single sourcing threshold that did not go through the procurement process. Implication: the absence of proper procurement processes for maintenance labor expenditure increases the risk of fraud and mismanagement. Lack of oversight may lead to inappropriate handling of funds and potential financial losses. Irregular expenditures exceeding the single sourcing threshold indicates non-compliance with the procurement regulations. Handling expenditure outside the procurement process may lead to operational inefficiencies, as it bypasses the established procedures designed to ensure transparency, fairness, and value for money in the procurement transactions.
The Gambia Ferry Services concurs with the observation of the auditors that certain expenditures relating to maintenance labor are handled by the technical department and not the procurement department. Almost all procurement are handled by the procurement department in line with the guidelines of GPPA, but during emergency situations where the ferry has a breakdown and the timely intervention of the engineers is needed to restore the ferry back to service, especially after work and during weekends, the engineers take the lead in the procurement process. The subsequent working day, the procurement would ensure that all relevant documentations are requested for and filed accordingly. Management would, however, put controls in place to ensure that even where there is an emergency situation, the engineers would not act without the involvement of the procurement department.
Page 18.5, cash and cash equivalent, high cash in hand balances. Observation: as at 31st of December 2021, we noted the closing cash in hand safer with account number FIN 76400 closed with a dollar balance of 9.746 million with a CFR value of 123.103 million. which was supported with a cash certificate signed by the cash office manager, the deputy director of internal audit and director of finance. Implication: management maintaining such a material amount in cash in hand exposes the company to a high risk of cash misappropriation, theft, or other irregularities leading to financial losses to the company.
The main reason for maintaining such a material amount is due to the high cost involved in repairs and in the event of major breakdowns, in which spares have to be procured immediately, and access to foreign currency can sometimes cause delay, and taking into account the importance of the ferry service in the country. The concerns of the auditors are noted. Management would put controls in place to minimize the amount of safe air held in hand by increasing the frequency of disposal of the safe air. A policy would be developed in terms of cash management to ensure that certain amounts of cash in foreign currency is maintained for emergency, whilst taking into account the high risk of maintaining cash.
Page 19, asset disposals. Observation. During the period under review, the following assets were disposed. A. Disposal of James Island Ferry. We noted there was a meeting held on the 12th of March 2023 in which the disposal committee approved the disposal after the board approved the management should dispose of ferries not in use. Furthermore, an evaluation was done by bidder valuing the assets as a GMD 1.2 million. The following was not provided: no GPPA approval for the disposal, no evidence of public tendering, bid opening report and register not provided, contract with the buyer not seen, and evidence of proceeds not provided for our review. B. Disposal of GPA 34 truck. The disposal committee approved the disposal of GPA 34, and committee recommended to Suleiman Khan an amount of 50,000 being a scrap asset as per the minutes. We noted two offers, but the following was noted: there was no GPPA approval for the disposal, no evidence of public tendering, bid opening report not provided, contract with buyer not seen, and evidence of proceeds not provided. Page 20, implication. Lack of GPPA approval. The absence of the GPPA approval suggests a deviation from the standard procurement procedures, raising concerns about compliance with regulatory requirements. No evidence of public tendering. The lack of evidence of public tendering raises questions about the fairness and competitiveness of the disposal process. It may indicate a lack of transparency and openness in the selection of the buyer. Thirdly, incomplete bid opening documentation. The missing bid opening report and register hinders a thorough review of the bidding process. This gap may impact the assessment of fairness and integrity in the selection of the buyer. Fourthly, missing contract with the buyer. The absence of a contract with the buyer raises concerns about the terms and conditions of the disposal. It is crucial to have a legally binding agreement to protect the organization's interest and clearly define the responsibilities of both parties. Lack of documentation for proceeds. The absence of evidence related to the proceeds, the bank, and receipts hampers the ability to verify the financial aspect of the disposal. This gap may impact the completeness and accuracy of financial reporting.
Management response. Disposal of James Island Ferry. Following approval of the board for the disposal of James Island Ferry, the company solicited for quotes for sale of same through the local print media, and after the evaluation of the bids received, it recommended the sale of the ferry to the highest bidder at 1.2 million, but could not proceed with the sale as it had a potential bill of over $1 million for the prolonged period that the ferry stayed at Capital Gas. After doing cost-benefit analysis and considering the challenges that a third-party buyer would face in terms of scrapping the ferry on the grounds of Capital Gas or floating the vessel elsewhere, management decided to accept the $1 million offer from Capital Gas. B. Disposal of GPA 34 truck. Your concerns are noted. Management would endeavor to follow the GPPA guidelines when disposing assets in the future.
Page 22.7, hull and machinery insurance. Observation. During the period under review, we noted a hull and machinery insurance contract was signed with the Global Security Insurance Company with $196,353 to cover the FY21 period. Upon our review on the value insured, we noted material differences between the value of the ferry in the insurance policy and the actual net book value of the ferry. The total USD value of the ferry as per the asset register is worth $1.813 million, while the company recognized a value of $8 million for the insurance, giving a difference of $6.186 million as stated below in the table. Considering the asset value forms the basis of the insurance charge, in the event management declared the USD 1.813 million instead of 8 million, it would have approximately saved approximately US $44,507 charge instead of $196,000, giving a savings of $151,850, about $8 million to the company. Overstating the asset value in the insurance policy results in the higher insurance charges, potentially leading to overpayment for insurance coverage. There is a risk of unnecessary financial burden on the company due to inflated insurance costs, which can have been avoided, leading to savings of approximately $8 million as stated above.
The ferries were recorded in the books using their original or historic values. In the absence of any impairment review over the years to compare the net book values of the ferries against market realizable values, and bearing in mind the replacement cost of the Johe and some ferries could be in excess of $400 million due to the depreciation of the dollar against other international currencies, the company decided to maintain the insured values of the ferries. However, in 2023, the insured values were reduced to be more reflective of market realizable values.
Page 24.8, property, plant and equipment. The following was noted. A, land values. We noted that the land values recognized in the financial statements dates back to 2001 to 2003, which is over 20 years ago. And taking into account the land appreciation value, this implies an understatement of the land asset value of the company. B, asset verification. During our asset verification, we were unable to verify the assets listed below. Can I assist us to conduct this verification? Implication A, land values. The use of outdated land values may impact the accuracy of the financial statements. It could misrepresent the company's actual asset value, potentially leading to inaccurate financial reporting. And B, asset verification. Assets not seen during the verification process means that we are unable to ascertain the existence of the assets, which overstates the asset value of the company.
Management response. A, land values. Your concerns are noted. The company has already started the process of recruiting the services of an independent valuator for the valuation of all its assets. Physical asset verification. We confirm our availability to redo a joint verification exercise with our internal auditor at your earliest convenience.
Page 30.10, budget management observation. During the fourth quarter 2020, the board approved the annual budget of the company for the period 1st of January 2021 to 31st of December to guide the management of the company on fund utilization for the period. During our review on the variance report, we noted material variances within the budget lines which was not discussed at the board level, giving management permission to exceed with approved limits in line with recommended budget management practice. We noted the following material negative variances as listed below. Implication: the lack of discussion at the board level regarding material negative variances raises concerns about the financial governance and the budget oversight. Unapproved variances may indicate a deviation from the intended allocation of funds, potentially leading to mismanagement of resources. This can result to financial inefficiencies and poor budget management practices.
Management response. The budget is a financial management tool for the company's board and management to effectively manage labor, material, transport, and other expenses, and ensure that the company operates within its limited resources. The figures in the budget are estimated using historic data and some element of forecasting and trend analysis. Whilst the company tries to be very conservative in its estimates, there are factors completely outside of the control of management, such as increases in the cost of material inputs, depreciation of the dollar against other international currencies, an increase in the number of medical cases requiring referrals overseas, which determine actual expenditure. Notwithstanding the aforesaid, management would put controls in place to minimize overspending and, if need be, seek the approval of the board if it has to spend more than what was budgeted.
Page 32.11, Standard Operational Procedure Manuals Observation. Upon our review on the various departments within the company, we noted the following key operations within the company without a Standard Operational Procedure Manual. 1. Operations, and 2. Health and safety. Implications, operations. The absence of a SOP manual for key operations may lead to inconsistencies in processes and procedures. This could result in variations in the execution of tasks, affecting overall operational efficiency and quality. SOP manuals are valuable tools for training the new employees and onboarding. Without documented procedures, the onboarding process may be less effective and new staff may face challenges in understanding and following established processes. Health and safety. In health and safety, the lack of SOPs can be particularly critical in emergency situations, and standardized procedures are essential for responding effectively to accidents, injuries, or other health and safety incidents. Furthermore, it means that there is no guidance maintained by the company in ensuring that health and safety is maintained at an acceptable level at all times.
Management response. The concerns are noted. Management would engage the operations department to develop standard operating procedures manual.
Page 34, review on spare parts purchases. We noted the following spare parts purchases during the period under review with no procurement documents attached, such as sourcing from other suppliers, considering this over the single sourcing threshold and the procurement evaluation documents as listed below. Implication. The absence of procurement support documents raises concerns about the transparency of the procurement process and lack of compliance to the GPPA procurement regulations.
Management response. The documents are attached as requested.
12.5 Auditor's reaction. The documents provided still implies the above were single source without GPPA approval. Page 35, corporate tax outstanding to GRA. As at 31st of December 2021, the total corporate tax due to GRA is 6.53 million as per the accounting system. However, based on a letter received on the 25th of January, in which GRA is requesting for management to resume with payments against the judgment of 73.9 million due to GRA. We requested for the reconciliation between the ferries and GRA and signed off to ascertain the actual tax liability to be recognized, but this was not done. Implication. The existence of a judgment debt raises concerns about potential non-compliance with tax obligations. Failures to address and reconcile this discrepancy may lead to legal and financial consequences. The unresolved discrepancy could impact the accuracy of financial statements with regard to the tax liability.
Management response. The amount stated in our books shows the actual amount of 6.53 million owed to GRA, whereas the amount stated in the consent judgment of 73.9 million includes both interest and penalty charges. The Gambia Ferry Services Management has engaged both GRA and government to waive these charges, given that the company is not operating purely on commercial lines, but rather providing a social service to complement the efforts of government in providing a safe and reliable service across the River Gambia.
Page 38. Performance of the company, percentage of personal cost against revenue, observation. An analysis was done on the personal cost of the company against the revenue, and we noted a material increment trend over the last years. As of 31st of December 2021, the personal cost accounted for 74% of the total revenue of the company as listed below. Implication. A personal cost accounting for a significant portion of revenue may raise concerns about the financial sustainability of this company. Such a high ratio can impact the ability to generate profits and cover other operational expenses. The high proportion of revenue allocated to personal cost may indicate potential inefficiencies in the workforce management, and it is important to assess whether the company is achieving optimal productivity and the cost effectiveness in its operations.
Management response. The decrease in the total revenue earnings of the company from 348 million to 267 million from 2019 to 2021 is due mainly to the closure of the ferry stations in Trans-Gambia, Patoto, and Basse. The increase in the personnel cost On the other hand, from 105 million to 198 million from 2019 to 2021 is due to the changes in the salary and allowances structure of GPA and its subsidiaries.
Okay, so Chairman, I'll just give a summary rundown on this. Oh, okay. First was cash and cash. A, Trust Bank account overdraft facility letter not seen. During the course of the audit exercise, we observed the Trust Bank account Banjul with an overdraft closing balance of 245,000 for the current year. We requested for an overdraft facility letter, but this was not provided by management, not implemented. B, Standard Chartered Bank account. During our bank reconciliation review, we noted that the company's bank account at Standard Chartered Bank, Basse, with a closing balance of 235,264, is in the name of the GPA and not Ferries, but under the management of Ferries, not implemented. No evidence of follow-up. From our test of controls procedures performed under credit controls with regard to ex-staff loan balances, we noted no evidence of follow-ups to recover the outstanding balances due as listed below, not implemented. Trade and other receivables. Company is no longer existing. Upon our review on the list of outstanding receivables, which has been fully provided for, we noted a list of debtors still maintained in the outstanding receivables, in which we doubt the recoverability due to the company is no longer legally existing as listed below, not implemented. Pardon? 43. Yeah, for the period under review, we noted a total amount of 17.59 million paid as bonus for the period under review. Upon discussions with management, we requested for the bonus policy to review the eligibility and the company's targets for bonus payments, but it was confirmed to us that the policy is not maintained. High employment cost. We noted the human resource cost of the company as of 2020 accounted for 55% of total revenue, not implemented. Page 44, car allowance. A car allowance is paid to employees that are maintaining a car in a roadworthy condition, as stated in Section 0903 of the service rules. Furthermore, Section 0904 further says that the car allowance shall cease to be payable with effect from the date on which an employee ceases to own a private motor car. During our review of the personal files, we noted inadequate documents in file to ascertain that a review is done on an annual basis to ensure that the staff receiving allowances do have a car in a roadworthy condition, not implemented. Payroll allowances not in the service rule book. Page 44. We noted that the following monthly allowances are paid to various employees, but the policy is not in the approved service rule book of the company, not implemented. Compliance with the approved service rule book. A review was conducted on the service rule to ensure management is complying with the requirements of the service rule book, but we noted the following lack of compliance. Job descriptions were not in file, the staff appraisal was not done, and a certificate of health for those two staff was not done and not implemented. During our company performance, during our trend analysis review on the performance of the company, we noted a sharp decline in the performance of the company over the 3-year period, which makes us question the long-term sustainability of the company, as listed below for 2018, 19, and 2020, not implemented. Inventory absolute stock, page 46. We noted an amount of 10.475 million relating to spare parts for the old engines for the ferries, which is not in operational. The board has given approval for the write-off, and the approval has also been given by GPA, but we noted that disposals is yet to be completed by management, not implemented. Trade payables. In line with recommended accounting for trade payables, we noted that the company does not maintain the supplier sub-accounts or subsidiary ledgers for the various key suppliers to adequately trace invoices against payments made, not implemented. Management fees, tolling services. We know that the company committed and deployed her staff for the correction of the breach, tolling services, and further undertaking operational and capital expenditures. However, A management fee was not charged for the services provided for the current year 2019, not implemented. Lease of land at Petrogas to Petrogas. During the course of the audit exercise, we noted management leased the land belonging to Ferries at Esau to Petrogas for a 10-year period from 2019 to 2029. We requested for the board approval, giving management the approval to engage in such long-term financial arrangements, but it was confirmed to us that the board approval was not requested by management, not implemented. Page 49, fuel allocation policy. We requested for the fuel allocation policy for the office fleet and the personnel receiving coupons, but it was confirmed to us that the fuel allocation policy is not maintained by management, not implemented.
Then how about the obsolete stock?
You already mentioned, yeah. Receivable balance 17.5 million. During our test of controls and test of details on the recoverability of the 3 receivables, we revealed a balance due from Shipwood, which has not performed, and further inquiries made confirmed that the debtor is bankrupt and this balance will not be recovered. Considering that this balance has been fully provided for, we have to view that the above balance should be written off the provisional account with a board approval, not implemented. Capital grant from Taiwan. During our review of the capital grant account from Taiwan, there is an opening balance of 28.3 million. We requested for a grant agreement for further audit test, but this was not provided during the audit exercise, not implemented. Finance and admin manual. During discussions with management with regard to the procedures and policies used by the finance unit, we noted that the company does not maintain a finance and admin manual for the implementation of approved policies and procedures, not implemented. IT policy manual, there is no IT policy manual maintained, not implemented.
Thank you so much, Mr. Chairman, it's a long day, but this has brought us to the tail end of this engagement, as today is slated for only presentation. And thank God we have successfully done with GPA and Ferries. What is left is the consideration. So before we come to the final closing of this particular session, do you have anything to tell us?
Well, thank you very much for this.
No, they are good.
The only thing that I want to say is to express profound gratitude for the patience and for your really giving us the opportunity to present what we have to do, what should have been done, what done today. So we also want to assure you, as the general manager has said, that we will try and address these issues so that they don't recur, in the future. So we order, again, crave your indulgence for being patient with us, and we hope that we'll be able to, clarify or put some clarity on some of the issues when we discuss. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. First, I just want to emphasize, calling on board for the consideration the activity report. We want you to work on this thing, bring in a clean copy. That is going to be standard. So that is what we are requesting. Don't forget, anytime you are coming, you can come with this one. Other than that, I want to thank you and the senior management of both institutions, Ferries and GPA, for your compliance and commitment to national duty. By law, this has been an obligation on us to consider your report that you need to report to the Parliament through this particular committee. It's not a witch-hunting exercise, it's to look at areas where we can improve so that we can attain value for money. Remember, these institutions are established for a purpose. And we know of recently there are a lot of issues confronting them. So putting heads together, I think that will help us to improve upon the status quo. So we anticipate your cordial working relationship and maintain that standard, especially improve upon the reporting line to the Parliament. That would have been duly accepted by all of us. And I think that will help us in order to address major issues in the corresponding year. Other than that, I want to extend a special warm afternoon greetings to each and everyone and wish you a safe journey back to either your institution or to home. On that note, honorable members, I also thank you together with the audit department, the representative from the national office and national audit office and the subject matter specialist. Can someone move a motion for us to adopt till tomorrow 10 a.m. prompt?
Are we considering that?
Pardon?
When are we considering that?
It is going to be communicated to them.
Tell them.
I move that we adjourn till tomorrow.
Any second?
10.
Second.
They will move and secondly adjourn till tomorrow 10 a.m. Those in favor, please say aye. Those not in favor, please say no. The ayes have it. Thank you so much. Mr. Chairman, we really appreciate and you are good to go now. Thank you, sir. Come tell them. Finish and keep it. Thank you. No.